Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction post-game show. I'm Jonathan Santiago. That is James Ham. And the Kings snapping a 7-game road losing streak, a 3-game losing streak overall, defeating the New York Knicks in the Garden in overtime, 106-101, and it was Jimmer time tonight, James.
That was spectacular. He came in, the Kings were down, what, like 12 in the first half when he came in? And he
Yeah.
dropped in 15 points out of nowhere. I know he had like 12 points in the first 5 minutes or 6 minutes he was on the court. Just absolutely incredible. He even had a heat check. I love the good old-fashioned heat check where he pulled up from like 29 feet from the top of the key and just buried it. You're like, holy cow, did you see that? Good stuff, man. Talk about coming up big at the exact right time. I mean, the trade deadline's a few days away. Jimmer on NBA TV in New York. All the bright lights are showing in his, right outside of his hometown. He grew up in Glens Falls in upstate New York. What a huge performance by Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah, this is a game, James. We're gonna touch on this tomorrow in our first half of the or pre-All-Star break. I guess post for the morning. But this is a game where you see Jimmer Fredette, the positives that he can bring to the table when he is rolling offensively. You just have to ignore all the defensive deficiencies that he has, and just keep him in there. And we got to see him tonight play some minutes with Isaiah Thomas, playing that two to Isaiah, as opposed to seeing a whole lot of Marcus Thornton out there for the Kings. And he was just he was rolling. I mean, at one point in the second quarter, he outscored the Knicks, I think something like 13-4. I mean, the Knicks were ice cold to start that second quarter. He played the entire second period and finished with 15 points, and then as we mentioned here, the career high 24 points for him. Just a huge night for Jimmer Fredette. In his return to his home state of New York. All right, let's touch on our 3 things to watch, and we start with point number 1. Can the Kings get out of their own way? To start this game, it looked like we were going to see another performance similar to the last 3 games, but realistically, the game completely changed when Jimmer got hot in the second quarter, and his team rallied around that. They really did, and that was really the turning point to allow them to get themselves out of their way tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree, John. The fact is, and we've talked about this so many times, that for much of the season, the Kings have played 4 and 5. Nobody respects their shooting guards. And tonight, once Jimmer got hot, you had to guard him. And what that did is it opened up everything else for everyone. And I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what the Kings have been lacking all season long. It's why their offense isn't better than it is, even though it is still pretty solid. But that's just because they've got good, solid players, 3 big-time offensive weapons. So, yeah, tonight, Jimmer clearly was a huge impact on everything, but specifically, he opened the entire spacing up for the game, and that's why the Kings won this game.
All right, moving on to point number 2 now, James. Can the Kings stop the quote-unquote others for the New York Knicks? Carmelo Anthony is obviously the superstar there in New York. He had 17 points to open up the game in the first quarter, finished with 36, went ice cold in overtime. But looking around, the Kings' defense obviously still an issue. I mean, at one point in the game, they were allowing the Knicks to shoot above 60% from the field. You see Tyson Chandler having 17 points and 11 rebounds. That's not the type of scoring game you'd like to see a guy like Tyson Chandler have on you, considering he's not known as a scorer. Amari Stoudemire comes off the bench to score 20 points on 10 of 15 shooting. So there were, the Kings allowed some other guys to get off outside of Carmelo Anthony, but their defense did really turn up when it mattered most, I think, at the end of the game and also in overtime.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the big guy that killed them was clearly Amari Stoudemire. He really came on strong, and luckily the Kings got a couple of stops. He looked a lot healthier than he has been in a while. Although at this point, he's kind of like broken down Bernard King. sort of the same thing. He doesn't play any defense. He'll get you some rebounds. He had a good rebounding night tonight, but he played a lot of minutes. So not a bad game, sort of a turn back the clock game for him. Definitely an offensive weapon. But overall, I thought the Kings did do a nice job. They still struggle with the pick and roll. That's what we saw. Tyson Chandler just eating them alive on the pick and roll, just going up for alley-oop after alley-oop. That's why, Raymond Felton has 8 points and 12 assists in this game. So they did a reasonable job. I mean, you gave up, 101 points in overtime. You held them to 45.6% field goal percentage, which isn't great. But at the end, it doesn't matter. The W is all that matters.
All right, last point that we want to touch on here is three-point containment. The Knicks shot 9 of 24 from deep for 37.5% from distance, and as I mentioned in this pregame preview, that's been an issue for the Kings all season long, defending the three-point arc. Tonight, not bad. I mean, again, 9 of 24 is not. It's not horrible. It's not great either. I mean, allowing a team to shoot 37.5%. But, tonight, outside of the defense, the Kings got help outside of Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins and Isaiah Thomas. When you have a guy like Jimmer Fredette coming off your bench to score 24 points, you have Derek Williams coming off the bench to score 14 points on 5 of 8 shooting. That's the difference, because they've got guys, as we know, in DeMarcus and Isaiah and Rudy Gay, who are all capable of going off for 20 on any given night. When they've got help, I mean, this team can compete with the best of them, I think.
Yeah, realistically, when they have a shooting guard, they're usually highly competitive. When they have somebody at that position who's making any sort of basket, it usually helps out. I don't know why, but all roads lead to Jimmer Fredette tonight with all of our conversations. So just a solid overall win for the Sacramento Kings.
Okay, player of the game is not Jimmer Fredette. No, I'm just kidding. Who is it?
That's too easy.
Obvious. It's Jimmer, obviously.
6 of 8 from the three-point line. Wow.
Yeah. What was that? I think. Let me look up here. Let me look up what Jimmer did. Well, I don't have it on me right now, but I think Jimmer. Those are career highs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Across the board. Yeah.
Yeah. Career highs.
Points.
Career highs, and is it field goals attempted too, and then also 3-pointers made, and 3-pointers attempted. So Jimmer was he was the game changer tonight, and obviously we already know that there's going to be a lot of discussion from the Jimmer fans who are going to say this guy deserves to play more. And trust me, I think that he does deserve to play a little bit more. I think if anything tonight. I wonder if this gives Coach Malone some food for thought going into the All-Star break about considering giving Jimmer more minutes at the 2 guard, playing him with Isaiah Thomas, because as I mentioned, he was playing down the stretch in the fourth quarter with Isaiah, and realistically, it wasn't that much of a drop off defensively from what they get from Marcus Thornton.
Yeah, and Tim Hardaway Jr. is a big boy. He's a big, good-sized shooting guard, and he played 38 minutes tonight and went 3 of 12 from the field. 1 of 6 from behind the arc. He scored 7 points. So clearly there wasn't a huge defensive drop-off. Raymond Felton, again, 3 of 11 from the field, played 41 minutes at the point guard position for the Knicks. He scored 8 points. Sure, he had 12 assists. He had 6 rebounds, but still, you held him in check pretty much offensively. So those are numbers that you like to see. Pablo Prigioni, he did hit 1 big three-pointer while Jimmer had sagged off him, I remember. But again, he was ineffective. In 23 minutes, he ends up with 5 points and 5 assists. So, yeah, all around a good defensive effort, good offensive effort, multiple player effort. DeMarcus Cousins gets hurt. The Kings keep rolling. He does have a strained left hip flexor. That is according to my peeps inside. I don't think that will be an issue. I think he'll be fine by the time the Kings return, next week. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he needs a couple more days, but I don't think so. I don't think he did anything crazy there.
All right, once again, a final from New York. The Knicks losing to the Kings 106 to 101. Kings coming away with a big victory, a much needed victory for them going into the All-Star break. And we'll see how they respond following the All-Star break. So this will be our last Road Reaction post-game show before the All-Star break. But join us Saturday night. James Ham, myself. As you can see, James is already in travel mode. He's getting ready to head out to New Orleans tomorrow. I will be joining
6
him.
a.m. flight.
I'll be joining him on Friday, and we will have a special edition of the Road Reaction post-game show. Actually, taking the show on the road this time. We'll be at the Smoothie King Center. That's what it's
Smoothie
called now.
King.
We'll see. We'll see
Oh,
the new look Pierre. Did you check that out?
I want like a new Smoothie King hat or something. I mean, what is a Smoothie King? Is it like Dairy Queen? Is it like a soft serve hat? I want one of those.
I'm not sure. They're not paying us enough for us to or they're not paying us anything for us to mention them much at all. But
That's right.
that's what happens when you have naming rights. But we'll be on the air following All Star Saturday night. Of course, Ben McLemore competing in the slam dunk competition. So join us. Saturday night after the festivities, where we'll talk about the dunk contest and All Star Saturday night and All Star Weekend from New Orleans, Louisiana, on Saturday night. So again, it's the final. The Knicks falling to the Kings. The Kings winning there 106-101. And join us Saturday night as as Ben McLemore takes his talents to the dunk competition at All-Star Weekend. So for James Ham, I'm Jonathan Santiago. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Road Reaction Postgame Show.